What is going on, and welcome back to the channel. Today is Monday. It is a holiday for me, Columbus Day, and I am off work. Thank God for being a government employee, I guess. Today I'm going to be tackling and taking care of the fluid damper from Vibertech. These are a pretty cool unit here. You know, it takes place of your traditional harmonic balancer that has the rubber insert to take away all the whatever that word, the vibrations within the engine. They're so minute, and this helps get rid of them. The fluid dampeners are a pretty cool unit. Like I said, they're made up of pretty much three parts. They have the outer shell, which is what you primarily see. They have the inner inertia ring, and then they have the silicone fluid inside. You know, the inner inertia ring and the outside is all machined to be an exact fit with one another, and then they fill it full of the silicone fluid and then seal it shut. You can see the two rivets here, and then it's sealed all the way around the edge of both units. Then I also opted for the fleece barring tool. I have actually had this for a while now, since the spring of this year when I did all the other work when I had a major teardown. I also did pick up there, I did not get the ARP hardware. I used their hardware. Their hardware is good for up to 700 horsepower and 1,250 foot-pounds of torque. You know, it's just going by what their standards are. And then it also comes with a diamond encrusted friction washer that goes on the back. I'm not going to use this right now, and it is drilled, or you know, and for the dowel pin if need be. If you go over 700 horsepower and 1,250 foot-pounds of torque, they recommend that you drill and tap, or drill and put a dowel pin in your crank for added security for slippage. So I'm just going to be using standard hardware because I am going to be taking it back apart for my application. They don't recommend, and I don't have to use the washer if I don't want to. So I'm not going to put it on right now because I am going to have to tear it apart probably in the spring, because I want to take all that off there, reseal it, new crank seal gasket up front. I'm not going to do it right now because traditionally that is done and put in from the backside. So Thoroughbred, I think, makes a tool that you can use to put it in from the backside, and it puts it right at proper depth. And I don't know if I'm going to have to use a wear sleeve for that. I haven't had it apart yet. I don't know what it looks like until I get that cover off and see what the crank looks like to see if I need to do a wear sleeve or not. I really won't know. I do see a lot of seepage on the bottom of the pan and around that area, so I'm pretty certain that the crank seal probably is leaking. I wish I could do it right now, but just for time restraints, I don't have that kind of time to be able to get that done. But anyway, going back to the fluid dampener, like I said, they are a New York based company. This one was sent to me by Fluid Dampener. Got their banner put up and their sticker up there on the cabinet. So I purchased it directly through them along with the bolt kit, and we're gonna put this on the truck and see how much better? I don't think that's a word, but anyway, see what that takes care of as far as some of the minuscule vibrations that you may not even feel that is harmful to your engine. A plus with my truck is a standard transmission, so that means I have the ability to put it in first gear, stomp that emergency brake, and be able to break those bolts loose fairly easy. And since I'm going to be putting the barring tool back on, I'm going to be able to hold it here and torque these to 95 foot-pounds is what their hardware recommends. I believe that is ARP's recommendation also, but I know a lot of guys will torque them to 120 foot-pounds, and I probably am going to use some blue Loctite this time. If I have some, I don't know. I don't know if I have any blue Loctite left. There's red and there's blue. I'm going to use blue Loctite this time. The next time I put it together, I'm going to use red. just so I don't have to worry about them backing off. Tell you a little secret, I already have the bolts broke loose, doing exactly what I said I was going to do. You know, I mashed on the emergency brake, have the truck in first gear, and was able to grab a hold of the breaker bar and just give it a little tap with my hand, and they broke free, no problem. So basically what you need to do next, and you leave the belt on too, so I need to take the tensioner, move it over, pull the belt off, and then take it off the harmonic balancer, and then pull all that out through the bottom, and then put the new one in place. When I get the old one out, I will lay them on the ground, up on the bench, wherever, and do a comparison to see what they look like. Man, them little bugs right there, them little black things with the little clear wings, they are bad right now. I don't know what the heck is the deal. I'm just standing out here, I keep getting bit by them little things. Anyway, I'm gonna do a comparison between my old one and the new one so you can see how bad my old one is. The rubber is coming out in several spots that I can see from just looking up at the bottom of the truck, and I believe some of it was actually missing. So, you know, this is coming at a great time to be able to take care of this. At the end of the video, I'll kind of go over and tell you where I'm at with wheels. I've hit some road bumps, so I'm gonna have to figure out a plan B. All right, like I said, I do have all of them broke loose, so I can just reach up in there and by hand and turn them all out. And I do have the belt off of the tensioner. Alright, with all four of the bolts out, sometimes you do have to stick something in here and pry this off. But when you do so, just make sure and get on like one of the bolt heads of the timing cover. You don't want to pry on that pan, because this is just tin, so you know you will dent that and push it into any of the gears that are inside there, whether it be your oil pump or your pump timing gear, anything that's in there. So mine is loose, so I don't need to do any prying. Just basically pull it off of the centering pin on the crank. Just like so. It doesn't appear to be like there's a whole lot of oil on that main seal. Maybe most of my oil's coming from my pan, I don't know. I'll grab, or the timing cover itself. I see a lot of oil around the timing cover, so that could be a lot of my issue too. My crank is not drilled and pinned, so maybe that's something I might look at doing this spring when I take care of everything else on the front of the engine here that I plan on doing. So let's take this over to the bench and do a comparison between the two. Alright, with my old one out, as you can see what I was talking about, probably I would say a good 75% of the actual damper is missing as far as the characteristics, what takes out the vibrations, and that would be the rubber isolator here. It is in really poor shape. You can see the back side. It's a little bit better. I would say probably 75% of the rubber is there, but you know, it's real soft and spongy and just ready to be replaced. By a long shot. Now with the fluid damper, one thing you want to make sure of, I don't have any ARP lube, so what I'm going to use is some anti-seize in between the head of the bolt and the washer and my barring tool. And one thing you do want to make sure of, recommended you should have at least 75% thread engagement into your crank. I'm gonna have just a little bit less because of the barring tool. but I'm not going to be under 50%. So I'm pretty happy with that. I guess if worse comes to worse, I could take the washer off and utilize this as the washer. But that washer and these fleeces are milled and machined, so it's a nice flush fit. These will work and they'll be fine, especially since I'm going to use Loctite. I just want to make sure and get my anti-seize in there for some gall and some lubricant. And like I said, I'm going to probably torque these to 95 to 100 foot-pounds. It's ready to replace, so I'm kind of anxious to see if I can tell a difference just by feel of how the engine runs. I would think so, because as you can see from my damper, or harmonic balancer was what this one is, a damper, whatever you want to call it, it is in really sad shape. So once again, just make sure to Loctite or lube things up. They call for the anti-seize, especially the ARPs do, but I'm going to go ahead and use Loctite because I don't want it to come off. And then when I put it together for good, after I pull everything off, I'll use red Loctite. I did inspect some of my oil pan bolts were loose. None of the timing cover bolts were loose, but as I looked under there, I can see some little imperfections within the seal. The way it is now, it's just really hard to, and really there is no way to get that seal out of there. You know, you can drill a hole in there and use a slide hammer with some coarse thread screws, but there's no place to run your slide hammer because of, you know, with the radiator in there, the intercooler in there, all that stuff. But when I tear everything apart, again, I don't know that I will, I'm little biting bugs, man. I don't know that I'll be able to get it broke loose again, but I'll be able to use my impact, because all that, I'm going to take all that stuff out of there and be able to access the front of the truck without having to reach up underneath. So the shroud will be out of the way, the fan will be out of the way, and all that stuff will be out of the way. Intercooler, radiator, air conditioning condenser, all that stuff will be out of the way, so I won't have to worry about it to begin with. So I guess right now we'll take and put this on the truck, get everything buttoned back up, and see how she runs. Alright, as you can see, as that fired up, it was pretty much success. Everything went well. Was able to get everything torqued up, as you can see there in the time lapse. One thing that I did fail to mention is this isn't a TDC requirement, which means top dead center. Your top dead center is done by or with your pump when you do your valve lash and stuff like that. I do have a video in my playlist for O2 Cummins on doing valve lash. This does not require top dead center to change this. If you wanted to, you could put your engine at top dead center and put a mark on the bottom of the flywheel, or the fluid balancer, so you know where top dead center is if you're underneath using the barring tool to turn it. I put that on there because I had it. The last time I put my engine at top dead center, I grabbed a wrench or a socket and put it on my alternator bolt nut, and was able to turn my engine over to top dead center right there. With that being said, I did put the boring tool on, so next time I probably will use it. I will go ahead and get my engine at top dead center with the alternator like I have done in the past, and then probably put a mark on the bottom of the fluid balancer so I know where top dead center there is, or where top dead center is on the bottom of the fluid balancer when it's pretty much perpendicular with the ground. And then that way I can use what you're actually supposed to use to turn your engine over to top dead center. Now, another thing that you can do on your adapter plate, engine and transmission, you can't see it. There is a plug, a plastic plug Actually, it's not. It's a steel cap held in place with 2 bolts. One bolt, I believe, is notched, so when you loosen up, you can basically just turn it over to the side and then put a barring tool in there that you use a 1/2 inch breaker bar on. And what that is it is basically a gear on the end, and that will go against your flywheel and be able to turn your engine that way. That's another way that you can put your engine at top dead center, or lock your engine to be able to break the bolts loose on your damper. I've heard a lot of guys have problems with getting those bolts broke loose. Now my truck's got a lot of miles on it. I don't know that they've ever been checked and retorqued, so maybe that's why mine wasn't so hard to get done. And also it helps out that I do have a standard transmission. I was able to put it first gear, you know, mash on the emergency brake and break them loose that way. Now, it still did spin just a little bit, so you know I had to work at it, but it was all right. I was able to get it done. So that's pretty much all I have right now as far as the damper. I would recommend that you buy one of these for your truck, especially if yours looks like this, at right around $150 more than what a stock damper is or a stock harmonic balancer is. It's worth the money to go ahead and upgrade to the fluid balancer. If you want, I'll put a link in the description below that you can go right to Amazon and purchase these, because Vibrotech fluid dampers, they don't necessarily or traditionally sell to the public. I was able to get one. So like I said, I'll put a link in the description for this damper if you want to pick one up. Other than that, as far as that, that's all I have. Moving on to my wheels. I checked with a place over in Indiana. The wheels, the 2 styles that I have picked out. One's a TIS and one is a gear alloy. I won't tell you what model they are. You just kind of stay tuned and wait and see what they are. They are on back order until the end of October, possibly into November. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's only one place that I've checked. So I'm just going to have to check around and see what I can find as far as those wheels and tires. Tires are not back ordered, it's just the wheels. I decided to go ahead and go with new. The gentleman, and nothing against the guy that I was going to go look at up in the Ottoville area, I think is where he was located. He had fuels, and I believe he had the Mickey Thompson Baja ATZs. Nothing against him at all. He was priced at $1,600, which is really reasonably fair. But for $300 to $500 more dollars, I can just have all new. I know there's nothing wrong with them, not to say there's anything wrong with his tires and wheels, but I know they're balanced, they're ready to go when they get to my door, or if I go over to Indiana and get them picked up. When they are delivered, they're ready to go on a truck, no questions asked. If I'm buying something used, I kind of question a little bit. Now, he told me the only reason he was getting rid of them because he wanted to go with 22s. That's fine. I still would want to have them balanced and checked just to make sure that everything is good with them, as one of you guys recommended. So I do appreciate that very much as far as the comments. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching very, 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 very much. Hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already done so, hit that bell notification. That way you know whenever I upload, and I'll keep you up to date as far as what I find out with tires and wheels. I'm not certain what's going to go on, but I'll keep you guys abreast. As far as, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later on. Bye-bye.